Story is a classic example of why you should think twice, maybe 3 times, before mixing finances with romance. Let's call our players Fabian and Marcus. They dated for a long time, and during that relationship, Fabian did something many of us are warned against. She loaned him a significant amount of money. According to Fabian's complaint, she made 2 loans to Marcus, totaling $5,000. She says he only paid back $1,600, leaving a balance of $3,400. Marcus, on the other hand, tells a different story. He claims he paid back $2,000 and the rest of the money, a whole $3,000, wasn't a loan at all. He insists it was a gift. Plus, he says he did a bunch of work around her house, which he thinks should count for something. So, who's telling the truth? Was it a loan or a gift, and how much was actually paid back? Let's rewind to the beginning. The first loan was for $3,000, made on November 12, 1999. A month later, on December 17th, she gave him another check, this time for $2,000. Fabian was crystal clear, both were loans. She even brought copies of the checks to prove it, so why did Marcus need the money? He owned a food delivery service at the time and was in a tight spot. He couldn't pay his bills and owed the government back taxes. The checks weren't even made out to him personally, but to his business. This detail seems to support Fabian's claim that it was a business loan, not a personal gift. Now, let's talk about the repayments. Things get a little messy here. Fabian says the repayments started on September 22, 2000, almost a year after the first loan. She had copies of the checks he gave her. But Marcus had a check of his own, one for $400 that Fabian didn't have on her list. It seems getting any money back was like pulling teeth. Fabian had to constantly call him, reminding him of his debt. After a little back and forth and showing each other their records, they both finally agreed on one thing. Marcus had repaid a total of $2,000. This left a balance of $3,000. So, the question remains, was that remaining $3,000 a loan that's now overdue, or was it a gift, as Marcus claims? When it was Marcus's turn to speak, he came out swinging. He called the whole lawsuit a joke, claiming Fabian was only suing him out of revenge. The judge, not interested in the drama, cut him off and told him to get to the point. Why did he stop paying? Marcus's answer was simple. He said, "I stopped paying back the loan because I already paid her everything that I owed her." His argument rested on the idea that the first $3,000 check, the one for his business taxes, was the only part that was a loan. According to Marcus, he and Fabian had an agreement. The initial $3,000 was a loan, and the $2,000 he paid back was for that specific debt. He believed he had $1,000 left to pay on that loan. But the second check, the one for $2,000, he was adamant that was a gift. He explained that Fabian was doing very well financially at the time. She had just sold her house and made a lot of money. He said she felt bad for him and his business struggles and wanted to help him out. She allegedly told him, "Here's $2,000. Don't worry about paying it back." He saw it as her investing in his dream, a gesture of support from a loving partner. Fabian's reaction to this was pure disbelief. She was shaking her head, completely denying his version of events. She insisted there was never any conversation about a gift. To her, it was a straightforward $5,000 loan, and she expected every penny back. She pointed out that he made payments totaling $2,000 without ever specifying which part of the loan he was paying off. If the second $2,000 was a gift, why did he pay her back $2,000 in total? Wouldn't he have paid her $3,000 if that was the full loan amount? It didn't add up. Then Marcus brought up the work he did around her house. He claimed to have done extensive work, acting as her personal handyman. He mentioned fixing her sprinklers, which were a mess. He said he worked on them for days. He also talked about fixing her garage door opener, which had completely broken down. He claimed he spent a whole day taking it apart and putting it back together. He even fixed a leak in her bathroom. He argued that all this labor should be worth something, and that it should offset whatever he still owed her. Fabian, however, wasn't having it. She said he was exaggerating. Yes, he did a few things around the house, but she described it as typical stuff you do for someone you're dating. She said he tinkered with the sprinklers, but never actually fixed them, and she eventually had to hire a professional. As for the garage door, she said he spent a couple of hours on it, not a whole day. She saw his handyman work as minor favors, not billable hours that could cancel out a $3,000 debt. She never asked him for a bill, and he never offered one. It was just a guy helping his girlfriend. The judge had to cut through the personal drama and focus on the facts. The core of the issue was the $2,000 check. Was it a loan or a gift? There was no written agreement for either the loan or the supposed gift. It was all based on he said, she said. The judge noted that when people give gifts, especially large ones, they usually don't expect to get sued over them later. On the other hand, when you loan money, you expect it back. The judge looked at the evidence. The checks were there. The repayments, though disputed at first, were eventually agreed upon. The timeline showed that a significant period passed before any repayments were made. The judge pointed out a critical detail. Marcus had made payments that totaled exactly $2,000. Why that specific amount? If he believed he only owed $3,000, why stop at $2,000? And if the other $2,000 was a gift, why did his repayments coincidentally add up to the exact amount of that supposed gift? The judge found Marcus's story inconsistent. He claimed the $2,000 was a gift, but his actions making payments that totaled $2,000 suggested otherwise. It seemed more likely that he was paying back the second loan first. The judge also dismissed the handyman defense. Without a contract or any agreement to pay for his labor, his work around the house was legally considered a gratuity, a favor done out of affection, not for payment. You can't retroactively decide to charge your ex-girlfriend for fixing her toilet years later. In the end, the judge sided with Fabian. The evidence pointed to a $5,000 loan. With $2,000 repaid, the balance was $3,000. The judge found Marcus's claim of a gift to be self-serving and not credible. His story about the handyman work was irrelevant to the financial dispute. So the judgment was for Fabian, in the amount of $3,000. This case is a powerful reminder. When you mix money and love, always get it in writing. A simple, signed piece of paper stating the amount, the date, and the terms of repayment could have saved both of them a lot of time, money, and heartache. It doesn't matter how much you trust the person. A loan agreement isn't about a lack of trust. It's about clarity and protecting both people involved. So, what do you think? Did the judge make the right call? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.